The UFO phenomenon as we know it today is much more recent, dating to the era of powered flight. The first sighting started during World War II when Allied pilots in both the European and Pacific theaters reported seeing puzzling lights or objects in the sky. They called these curiosities Foo Fighters. Then, in June 1947, American businessman and aviator Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 shiny, mysterious crafts zipping through the skies near Washington's Mount Rainier. Some newspaper stories describe these UFOs as flying discs or flying saucers, and the latter term soon wormed its way into the public consciousness. UFO reports surged in the wake of Arnold's sighting, some of them even winding up in the pages of the New York Times. One of the items the Times picked up was the discovery of some seemingly exotic wreckage on a ranch in Lincoln County, New Mexico in 1947. In July of that year, a public information officer at the nearby Roswell Army Airfield described the debris as a flying disc, briefly igniting a firestorm of confused interest. Army officials quickly retracted that statement, explaining that the material in question was the remains of a crashed weather balloon, and the Roswell incident faded into obscurity. The U.S. military, concerned that some of these UFOs might pose a threat to national security, soon began to investigate sightings systematically. The more well-known Project Blue Book got started in 1952 and ran until 1969, examining more than 12,600 UFO reports along the way. One of the sightings Project Blue Book investigated was that of Betty and Barney Hill, who claimed they were captured and examined by extraterrestrials in rural New Hampshire in September 1961. The couple's account started getting picked up by newspapers in 1965, becoming the first ever widely publicized alien abduction story. UFO sightings didn't end when Project Blue Book wrapped up, of course. They've kept on rolling in over the decades. Some of the most famous ones in the past half-century include that of Travis Walton, an Arizona man whose 1975 alien abduction claim was dramatized in the 1993 film Fire in the Sky, the Rendlesham Forest incident, a string of mysterious observations near England's Royal Air Force Woodbridge Station in December 1980, and the Phoenix Lights, which confused many Arizonans in March 1997. And in November 2004, several U.S. Navy pilots flying off the coast of San Diego reported seeing bizarre craft zooming through the sky, seemingly maneuvering in ways that exceeded the limits of known technology. Other Navy pilots had similar experiences off the U.S. East Coast a decade later, making a series of intriguing observations from June 2014 to March 2015. The pilots captured infrared video of some of these encounters using their onboard camera systems. 3 of these videos went viral in December 2017 when the New York Times published them as part of a blockbuster story about a previously secret military UFO investigating effort called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP for short. The program ran from 2007 until a funding phase out in 2012. UFOs are undeniably real. People often see things in the sky that they can't identify, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything exotic going on. For example, the 1947 Roswell debris actually came from a high-altitude balloon lofted by the U.S. military as part of Project Mogul, a secret program that searched for evidence of atomic bomb tests by the Soviet Union. And the 1997 Phoenix Lights were likely caused by high-flying planes and a military flare-dropping exercise. Alien abduction stories are more complicated as they tend to involve more psychological components. Project Blue Book got to the bottom of the vast majority of the 12,600 sightings it investigated, ascribing most of them to natural phenomena such as clouds, stars, and bright planets. The Air Force researchers could not explain 701 of the encounters, but they concluded that none displayed evidence of otherworldly technology or posed a threat to national security. Still, the ET idea should not be dismissed or ridiculed, as some sightings remain unexplained. Here's a good sign for alien hunters. More than 300 million worlds with similar conditions to Earth are scattered throughout the Milky Way galaxy. A new analysis concludes that roughly half of the galaxy's sun-like stars host rocky worlds and habitable zones where liquid water could pool or flow over the planet's surfaces. The finding, which has been accepted for publication in the Astronomical Journal, pins down a crucial number in the Drake equation. Devised by Frank Drake in 1961, the equation sets up a framework for calculating the number of detectable civilizations in the Milky Way. Now, the first few variables in the formula, including the rate of sun-like star formation, the fraction of those stars with planets, and the number of habitable worlds per stellar system, are known. Astronomers estimated the number of these planets using data from NASA's planet-hunting Kepler spacecraft. For 9 years, Kepler stared at the stars and watched for the brief twinkles produced when orbiting planets blot out a portion of their star's light. By the end of its mission in 2018, Kepler had spotted some 2,800 exoplanets, many of them nothing like the worlds orbiting our Sun. But Kepler's primary goal was always to determine how common planets like Earth are. The calculation required help from the European Space Agency's Gaia spacecraft, which monitors stars across the galaxy. With Gaia's observations in hand, scientists were finally able to determine that the Milky Way is populated by hundreds of millions of Earth-sized planets orbiting Sun-like stars, and that the nearest one is probably within 20 light-years of the solar system. In its original form, the equation assumes that technologically savvy aliens would evolve on planets orbiting Sun-like stars. It took more than half a century for scientists to start pinning down how many planets could feasibly host life. In 1961, astronomers knew of no worlds orbiting stars other than the Sun, and although planetary formation theory suggested exoplanets should be common, we had no observational evidence that they existed. But over the past decade, it's become clear that planets are extremely common, outnumbering stars in the Milky Way. On average, nearly every star is home to at least one orbiting world. Kepler spots faraway worlds by looking for dips in light produced as planets cross stars' faces and briefly blot out a fraction of starlight. Based on how much starlight is blocked and how often, scientists can figure out how big a planet is and how long it takes to orbit its star. Using this approach, Kepler spotted thousands of exoplanets of all sizes and orbits, but scientists' real quest was for the fraction of planets like Earth: temperate, rocky, and orbiting Sun-like stars. Early estimates suggested that perhaps 20% of Sun-like stars hosted a world that met those criteria. We now know that the number is closer to 50%, if not more. Instead of basing a planet's potential habitability only on its distance from a star, the team calculated how much energy is reaching each of these worlds. From there, the team selected the worlds where temperatures would allow liquid water to survive on the surface. Once the team had a sample size of known rocky temperate worlds orbiting Sun-like stars, they were able to estimate how many exist across the entire galaxy. They found that between 37 and 60% of Sun-like stars in the Milky Way should host a temperate, Earth-sized world. And using a more liberal calculation of the energy needed for a world to be temperate, they found that as many as 58 to 88% of Sun-like stars could have such a world. Now that astronomers have a good sense of how many worlds similar to Earth are strewn across the galaxy, they can continue working through the variables in the Drake equation. Many of the remaining factors will be tough to pin down, including the crucial questions of how often extraterrestrials develop technologies that we could detect and the length of time such civilizations are detectable. Astronomers are tantalizingly close to figuring out the next factor in the equation: the fraction of habitable worlds on which life evolves. As we continue to explore our solar system, we are finding that the list of habitable niches is long and diverse. Finding just one example of life beyond Earth would demonstrate that biology is not a cosmic fluke, but rather a probable outcome, given the right ingredients. And considering the amount of habitable real estate in the cosmos, many astronomers say that life is basically an inevitability. After years of silence, the Pentagon and NASA have finally revealed that they have been tracking UAPs entering the airspace. Pentagon officials speaking at the first public hearing on UFOs since the 1960s have shown previously classified footage of an unidentified aerial phenomenon, a split-second video of a metallic sphere zooming across the flight path of a military jet. The object, captured through the cockpit window of an FA-18 fighter jet in 2021, was also seen by the Navy pilot flying the jet and picked up by the plane's sensors. But what exactly it could be remains a mystery. Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence Scott Bray presented the video to representatives during a public hearing held by a House Intelligence Subcommittee that saw lawmakers grill him and one other intelligence and defense expert on multiple reports by military pilots of mysterious unidentified aerial phenomena. The focus of the hearing was a June 2021 Pentagon report that revealed U.S. Navy pilots had reported 144 sightings of UAPs since 2004, most of which the department concluded probably do represent physical objects. Of the 144 UAP sightings included in the June 2021 report, 18 displayed extremely unusual flight behaviors, with the mysterious objects appearing to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. Released video clips also showed some of these ostensibly propulsion-less crafts moving at hypersonic speeds, and one piece of footage captured by the U.S. Navy appears to show a spherical UFO hovering in midair while bouncing from side to side before plunging into the ocean. Another video released during the hearing showed a night vision recording of multiple flashing triangles gliding through the air. This time, the officials did have an explanation, saying that they were visual artifacts produced by the dim light of drones flying overhead as the light passed into the night vision goggles. The hearing was an attempt by lawmakers to bring a degree of transparency to the process through which the Pentagon is investigating the unexplained sightings and to destigmatize the reporting of strange aerial phenomena. Despite this push for transparency, much of what defense and intelligence experts know about the sightings, alongside the technology they use to detect them, remain classified for national security reasons. The public hearing was followed by a closed second hearing reserved for classified information. The 2021 report isn't the only recent disclosure that the U.S. government has been secretly documenting the strange, seemingly unexplained activity. In April, a Freedom of Information Act request brought more than 1,500 pages of UFO-related documents to public scrutiny. The document database, created by the Defense Intelligence Agency's secretive Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program that ran from 2007 to 2012, included reports on more than 300 medical accounts of supposed human interaction with UFOs, some of which included burn injuries, brain damage, nerve damage, heart palpitations, and headaches from alleged close encounters with anomalous vehicles.